They're going to spiritual jail. Yeah, you saw that title and you clicked. And let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. No, they are not. Not the way that you think. Not the way that it's being preached in a lot of the tarot readings. Not the way that your pain really wants it to happen. So let's talk about it. I get it. You've been hurt. You've been lied to. You've been used, betrayed, maybe even abused. And then you clicked on a video that said they're going to spiritual jail. You felt a little bit lighter, like finally they're gonna pay. And I get it. You want justice. You want peace. And let's be real, sometimes you just want a little bit of revenge. But here's the problem with that message. It comforts your pain, but it does not release your tie. Because if your peace depends on someone else being punished, you are still in bondage. You're not free. You're just watching the jail from the window. Now let's get into why this message keeps showing up for you and many other people, and how it keeps you trapped. You see, spiritual jail is not a place, it is a condition. It is consequences catching up with behavior that was out of alignment. But here's the truth that a lot of readers and prophets won't tell you. You don't need to monitor that. You don't need to wait for it. And you definitely don't need to celebrate it. Because the minute that you center your healing around their downfall, you're giving them way too much of your power. So let me show you how this plays out in real life. You were in a relationship where they cheated, or they played games, or they gaslit you, they tore you down and moved on like nothing ever happened at all. So you start watching readings. They're haunted. They're stuck in a karmic trap or a karmic relationship with a karmic, and they're in spiritual jail. And for a moment, that feels really good. It tells your nervous system they didn't get away with it. But here's the problem. Now you're stuck. You're stuck watching for evidence. You're stuck watching for signs or waiting for those signs. You're stuck obsessing over whether they're really suffering in real life. And that is not healing. That is just energetic surveillance, and you're still giving all of your power away. Let's try again. You're still emotionally tied to their consequences, which means that you have not taken ownership of your own closure. Because real closure is not that they got what they deserved. It is, I'm no longer checking to see. Now, let's take it out of romance, shall we? Let's talk about family betrayal. You were the one who always showed up. You were the one who gave and gave and gave, the one who protected the secrets and the dysfunction. But when you needed them, yeah, they disappeared. Maybe they even scapegoated you. They left you out of a will, or they lied about you to other relatives. So you go online and you watch something that says they're cursed. Their blessings are blocked. They're going to face public humiliation. And you're sitting there and you're nodding and you're waiting for that karma to roll in. But listen, karma is not a movie that you just get to stream. It's not entertainment, and it doesn't happen on your timeline. What you're watching for is not justice. You're watching for compensation because you want someone to pay for the emotional debt that they owe. But here's the real deal. They don't have the currency to pay you. That's why they're broke in character. They've always been broken character to begin with. Now let's break it down a little bit further. Some of you are using this idea of spiritual jail to keep yourself safe from accountability. Because if they're the bad one, if they're the cursed one, the blocked one, the punished one, and exposed, then you don't have to look at the part of you that stayed way too long, that ignored your own red flags, and that kept hoping potential would one day, someday turn into reality. And that's not shade, you guys. That is liberation. Because you can't reclaim your power if you're still blaming that thief for why you left the door unlocked. You see, spiritual jail, it's not just a reading. It's not about divine punishment. Those readings are about energetic alignment, catching up to behavior. People who abuse, who lie, cheat, manipulate, yeah, they lose things. They lose peace. They lose time. They lose access. They lose access to you. But none of that matters if you're still watching the jail from the window. The question is not, are they suffering? The question is, why the heck am I still watching? Let's try another example. Let's say you had a falling out with someone who wronged you deeply. You cut them off, you went no contact, and you started to heal. But every so often, you go check their profile. You pull a few cards, you scroll past a video, and you think, this one is probably about them. And sure enough, it is spiritual jail, blocked blessings, unhappy in a karmic connection. Yeah, you feel seen, you feel heard, but you don't feel free because your peace is still reactive to their punishment. And let me be direct. You cannot heal and spy at the same time. You cannot heal and spy at the same time. You cannot say, I don't care, and still watch their judgment unfold like it is a Netflix series. Healing requires you to stop obsessing over whether or not they're getting their just desserts. They're getting what they deserve, because the moment that you do that, you put your energy back where it belongs, on your own peace, on your own progress, on your own purpose. Now, let's ask the hard question. Am I still emotionally tied to their downfall, or am I free? Because some of you have been praying for release while rehearsing someone else's destruction, and the universe is quite confused. You say you want peace, but you keep peeking at their prison. You say you want to move on, but you keep watching the replays of your pain. And that is not freedom. That is called fixation. And it is time for you to finally just let it go. So what does letting go actually look like? This means that you stop checking to see if they're okay. You stop watching to see if they're struggling. You stop needing evidence to validate your intuition. And let me say that again for the ones in the back. You stop needing evidence to validate your intuition. You already knew who and what they were. You already knew what they did. Now you need to stop looking for karma to say, oh yeah, you were right. You've been right. Now it's time for you to just be free. Let's shift into action. You've been checking those readings every few days, looking for proof. Now I want you to check yourself. Ask yourself, why the heck do I still care? What part of me still feels unseen? What am I waiting for them to lose that I could be building for myself instead? Because while you're watching for their judgment, guess what? You're postponing your own breakthrough. You cannot manifest wholeness with one eye on revenge. You cannot align with love if you're still looking over your shoulder at a past betrayal. You cannot build a legacy while waiting for the wreckage behind you to burn. This is the moment that you stop. You stop letting their downfall be your justice. You stop using spiritual jail as a substitute for accountability. You stop needing readings to do the inner work for you. Say it with me if you're ready. I don't care what happens to them anymore. I care what happens to me next. And that right there, my friend, that is how you end a karmic loop. That is the release. That is the power shift. And that is the real karma. Because now you're finally free.